Okay, good morning, good morning, good morning from all around the world, all around the globe. I greet you from right here in Nigeria. I greet you from America, from Australia, from Canada, from the United Kingdom, from Ghana, from Cameroon, from everywhere that you are listening to me right now. And if you can hear me, please just put a comment in the comment section so that I'm sure that it can hear me. If you can hear me right now, put a comment in the comment section, and I'll be sure that you can hear me loud and clear. So, waiting for that comment in the comment section. Let's see the first person who is going to put a comment so that I'm sure you can hear me loud and clear. You're welcome to this week's edition of my live webinar. My name is Kunle Ologe, marriage counselor and founder of the Marriage Seal Academy. I'm also a business mentor and founder of the Kunle Ologe Business Mentorship. And you are welcome today. And we are speaking today on a very, very important topic. This topic actually affects everything about life. It affects your marital life, which you know that that's a core for me. It affects your work life. It affects your spiritual life. It affects every single aspect of your life. And today we are talking about that element called fear. Today's topic is overcoming fear. Overcoming fear. And you know, someone once said that fear is not courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is actually your ability to overcome fear. So when you see somebody and you say, wow, that person is so courageous, he's able to do that thing, she's able to do that thing, how is he able to do it? Wow. That person is not that the fear did not come. Fear came, but he or she was able to overcome that fear. And that's the most important thing about courage. Mercy, I see you. Thank you very much. Good morning to you and welcome. So, I'm going to start today by saying that fear is a dangerous thing. Yeah, fear is a very, very dangerous thing. So, it's not just that you are afraid. Every time you are afraid, you are opening up the window for things to actually happen to you. You know, if you allow fear to sit down in you, you will begin to walk in fear. You will begin to do everything you are doing according to the fear that you have. And that's the danger of fear. A very, very dangerous phenomenon. You know, it was Job that said it. He said in Job 3:25, he said, "The thing which I greatly fear has come over me." And remembering the story of Job, you remember he was so afraid that his children would do something, that maybe he has done something wrong. So they would go out and he would sacrifice to God on their behalf. That God, in case they sin, no, this is. And you know that fear caught up with him. Do you know it is that fear that the devil smelt? And that was what made him go to God and say, let me try this, your son that you are so proud of. If he didn't smell the fear, he wouldn't have thought that I would be able to try Job and get away with it. But he sensed the fear. He could smell the fear in Job. And he said, if I try this man with this kind of fear that he's exhibiting, he will fall. So fear attracts the enemy, attracts the devil to your life. And remember, I said fear affects every part of your life. So fear attracts the enemy to your life. That is the reason why you must look for a way to overcome it. That's the reason why I'm here speaking to you, so that we can together see how can you overcome this fear that grips you. In everything you want to do, there's fear. You want to do something new in your business, fear. You want to, for those of you who are watching me and who are still single, you want to get married, fear. You want to change jobs, Fear. You want to have a discussion with your spouse on something that is going on. Fear. So fear will stop you from achieving a lot of things in life. It will. And that's why the Bible says fear hath torment. Fear hath torment. As in, when you are afraid, it will constantly torment you. You will not be able to do the things that you are supposed to do. And I greet you, my wife, my lovely wife is here. Wendy, I see you, I greet you. Yes, fear will stop you. Fear will stop you in your tracks. You can have all the potential in the world, but fear will not make you move. Fear will not make you make that change, turn that button, take that trip, sign that document. Fear. So we need to be very, very wary of fear. It is dangerous. I said it before. It's not just that you should not have fear. It is dangerous. So if you allow it to fester, and you know, for some of us, we also transfer this fear. So you are afraid of something, you transfer your fear to your spouse. Then you transfer your fear to your children. You know, there was a time that my son wanted to do something. He wanted to use a knife to do something. Now, I had cut myself before using a knife to do that thing. And my first instinct was tell him not to do it for him. But then my knowledge instinct now told me, how long will you do it for him? You cannot do it for him forever. I see you, Habibo. Yeah, fear has torment. And so I had to overcome my sense of fear, allow him. All I did was to tell him how to do it, and then allow him to do it himself. This is what? 4 years later, my son has been doing that without any issue. He did not get the kind of experience that I had. So experience sometimes makes us fear unnecessarily. So you tried something before, it didn't work, or it works negatively, and then you allow that experience to sit on you and you can't move forward. So experience, you need to be careful. When you have a negative experience about something, you need to tell yourself that was just a one-off. Are there people who have positive experiences about that same thing? There are. So if there are, then you can do it also. So fear had torment, and if you allow it to fester, it will build and it will eventually destroy you. There's a beautiful verse in the Bible that I'm going to read out to you right now, and it's very, very informative, very, very instrumental to what it is that we're saying today. So 1 John 4:18. 1 John 4:18. It says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casted out fear. Because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. The subject of love. Do you know that one of the first recipes to fear is love? Yeah. One of the first recipes to fear is love. And that's why the Bible says that there is no fear in love. So if you bring in love, if you introduce love, fear finds its way. I say it again. If you introduce love, fear finds its way. So you need to learn to now start introducing love to the things that you fear. This is now going to be funny. Some people will be wondering, what's coach saying? I'll tell you. So that's your wife that you are so afraid to talk to. You have something you want to talk to her about. You are so afraid to talk to her about the thing. Do you love her? if you love her so much, you're going to start seeing the positive, because what love makes you do is see the positive part of things. So you're going to start seeing the positive part of that your wife, and you are going to be able to now have that courage to be able to speak to her, because you are not seeing the negative side of somebody who will react in a way that you are afraid of. You will see the positive side. Oh, follow me, follow me. Are you afraid to write that application? So there's a job for you, and the advert is out, but something inside you is just telling you that you can't make it. And so you are afraid, and you allow that fear to fester. Do you know, if you love that job so much, that job you are afraid of, if you love it so much, it will bring you courage to actually write that application and have hope that that application will scale through. That's how love works against fear. I hope did somebody pick it? Did somebody pick what I said? Thank you so much, Nike Olubi. I greet you, ma. Welcome. Did you hear what I said? When you introduce love, fear disappears. So a lot of the things you are fearing, look for something around it to introduce love to. And when you do, you will be shocked how that fear will fly. So the first recipe for fear is love. So how much love do you have? All right, so let's go to 10 things. I have 10 things here that I want to discuss with you that will help you to overcome that fear that you are facing in whatever aspect of life it is that you are facing it. And we'll go one after the other. And I want you to take notes. Take notes. Because remember, I have already established that fear is a dangerous thing. So if you are the kind of person that every single thing you want to do, fear is always jumping in against you, you need to listen to what I have to say. Listen to these 10 things and listen well. And if you know somebody who is always talking to you about fear, quickly send him the link for this session that we're having, this webinar right now, so that he or she will quickly join and get what it is that will help him or her overcome fear. I greet you, Dr. Lola. Dr. Lola is greeting me, and I greet you back. Miriam, I greet you also. Yes, the first recipe of fear is love. Oh, yes, it is love. And my wife is there saying it is love. She understands this, because one of the things, the verses that we used when we wanted to get married was in Timothy. 2 Timothy 1:7. It says, "For God had not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind." God had not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. That was what we held on to when we were about to get married. Because, of course, there were fears. First of all, we were from two different tribes. I'm Okun, and she is Igbo. And that's like across the Niger, kind of. And so how would our parents take it? That was a genuine fear. Secondly, again, was the fact that she was of a different denomination and I was of a different denomination. So how would her parents allow her to marry somebody of a different denomination? There were so many things that fear brought our way, but we discovered this, and I'm going to be talking about how loving God will help you truly in this journey to overcome fear. So we discovered this verse and we held on to it. Every time we prayed together, we used that verse to pray, and we went forth, because as we used the verse to pray, courage rose up inside us. And we went forth, and every single thing, every single obstacle that fear brought was brought down. So my wife and I are two people who understand how to overcome fear in so many things. And as we go on, I'll be telling you different stories. So let's look at the 10 ways to overcome fear. The first one is for you to take time to reflect. Take time to reflect. You know, a lot of times when fear comes our way, we don't even take time to reason and ask ourselves, why are you really afraid? Is there something to be afraid of? This thing that is making you afraid, have other people done it? Is it everybody that has done it that has failed or that has encountered the fear that is already brewing in you? So take time to reflect. You know, I will always say it. I will say, learn to think and not worry. A lot of the times when we claim we are thinking, we are not. We are actually worrying. And worrying is destructive. Thinking is constructive. Worrying is destructive. So when you are actually thinking, you are thinking of steps to overcome whatever it is, whatever challenge it is that is in your mind. But when you are worrying, you are just carrying your hand and putting on your head and saying, oh my, I am finished. So you're not actually thinking of solutions. You're just concentrating on the problem. So you need to take time to reflect. Look at that thing you are afraid of and start asking yourself some questions. This thing, who has tried it before? Who has failed? Who has succeeded? Is it that everybody that has tried it has failed? And you realize that that fear may just be unfounded. So take time to reflect. Number 2, face your fears. Face your fears. You know, when you have a challenge, there are 2 things you can do. You can either fight or you can flee. You can either face it or you can flee. So instead of fleeing every time that there is a challenge, fight, stand, face your fear. Do you know that some people, fear has made them run from, talking about marriage now, fear has made them run from one person to another. You know, once the relationship is getting serious, they take off again. Once the relationship is getting serious, they take off again because of fear of 1 or 2 challenges that they see. Face your fear. Stop running. I was telling a couple recently who are on the verge of divorce, and somebody recommended them to me for counseling. And according to them, when we started the session, what they said was, you know what? We've already decided we are going to get divorced. What we just want is for you to help us, guide us on how the children will be sorted out in this process. So I begged them and I told them, I said, you know what? Okay, I know you've decided that you're going to divorce. That's your decision. But will you just listen to me for 1 hour? Let me preach to you. Because they were not willing to discuss anything. They just wanted to stay on their decision. And so for 1 hour or about 40 minutes, I took a module from one of my courses and I delivered it to them. The module that I thought will really help them. And that module was on communication. Because, you know, in marriage, communication is one of the most important things in marriage. So I gave them that module and I could see their countenance changing as we were going through the module. All of a sudden, it was like light was coming to them. I could see it practically as they were, you know, on screen because it was online. So I do my counseling sessions either online or live, most of the time online because it's from all over the world. I have people reaching out to me from all over the world seeking for counsel. And at the end of the day, the feedback that they gave was that they really got something. So you see, fear had already made them decide that this marriage cannot work. And instead of staying to fight, they fled. And I'm speaking to somebody out there who is listening to me right now. Either you're listening to me live or you're going to watch the replay of this later on. If you have that thought of divorcing your husband, divorcing your wife, review it again. Are you actually not fleeing? Because most likely you are fleeing. And one of the issues with divorce when you flee is that for 70% of people who get divorced, they divorce again. because you've already found a way of escape. So instead of facing the challenge and solving it, you run away. Then you get married to somebody else and you face another challenge. The first thing that comes to your mind is run. Because you did it before, you do it again. And so you see people who have been divorced will divorce a second time, a third time. You would hardly see somebody who got divorced and stayed in the second marriage. You would always see they now had a third marriage or a fourth marriage and so on. So don't flee, face your fears. Number 3, imagine the worst. Imagine the worst. What's the worst that can happen to you? When you're able to imagine that, you will find out that it's not as bad as it looks. It's not as bad as it looks. So imagine the worst. What can happen if I take this step? What is the worst thing that will happen to me? You will find out when you imagine it, it's not so bad. The worst thing that will happen to you, for instance, for a man who wants to go and propose to a lady, the worst thing that will happen to you is that the lady will say no, right? So if you have thought of that and you realize that that's the worst thing that can happen, so go ahead and speak. And if you get a no, you move. But you know, some people will not try, they will not speak, and maybe the person was just waiting for you so that she could say yes. And it applies to every other thing. Imagine what's the worst that can happen. So that's the third thing that you can do to overcome fear. The fourth thing you can do is review the evidence of your imagination. So you've imagined a thing, right? Review it. What's the evidence that that's your fear? How do they say that? What's the probability that it will happen? What's the probability? You will find out that it is only maybe 1 in every 100 that it will happen. So why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? You want to start a new business. Some people, that is what has held them from doing business. They refuse to take that step. They have the ideas. God has given them the vision. They have everything, but they are afraid. But if they just imagine the worst that will happen, and then they review that imagination, they will find out that really there's not too much to be afraid of. So review the evidence of your imagination and help yourself to jump out of that fear. Help yourself to jump out of that fear. Number 5, visualize a happy place. Visualize success in that thing that you are afraid of. You know, success is a good motivator. When you see that, okay, if I am actually successful, this is what I would achieve, it will help to draw you and help to conquer the fear. It will help to draw you and help to conquer the fear. This reminds me of a story, a little bit similar to what I just said now, but a little bit different. But it's also about fear. I'm sure you heard this story before. A king wanted a good suitor for his princess, for his daughter. And so he gave them a challenge, all the men in that place. And he said, there was a river that was crocodile infested. And he said, my daughter is going to stay on the island on the other side. Anybody who can swim from the bank to my daughter, he will get my daughter to marry and get half of my kingdom. Now, that was a very juicy offer. But that juicy offer, still, fear did not allow some people. They were still looking at the crocodile water and saying, so I'll jump inside now and the crocodile will bite me. But you know what? There was one person who visualized that thing and said, wow, marry the princess and then get half of the kingdom. And that was the mother of one of the young men. So she was also afraid. Remember, it is her son that was attempting to marry the princess. So she was also afraid that this boy, if he tries this thing, he will die. But at the same time, she visualized the success. As in, if he tries it, what if he does not? My son is a good swimmer. She knew already. My son can swim fast. I think he can outswim the crocodile. So while the son was still thinking about whether to go or whether not to go, this woman pushed her son into the water. The son immediately summoned up courage. Of course, he was already in the water, so there was no time to think. You know, sometimes it's because we are not busy with activities. That's why we allow fear to sit on us and depress us. At this point in time, the son did not have time to think of fear. He only had time to say, I need to get to the other side. And he swam very fast and he got to the other side. He got the princess and half of the kingdom. So visualize a happy place. Number 6, talk to someone. Talk to someone. When you have fear and you don't know what to do again, and this fear, you can see that it is not making you move forward in your life, then talk to someone. Talk to a professional. Because it's not just anybody you should talk to. I mean, there are people you will talk to that will help you even build the fear more. No, talk to a professional counselor. Talk to a counselor about it, and the counselor will help you and guide you to overcoming that fear. As a counselor, I've been privileged to sit and listen to many people speak about their fears, not just in marriage, even in other aspects of life. In finance also, which I am deeply into. And I'm able to help them to navigate those murky waters and see that vision in front of them and overcome that fear. And I'm happy to say many of them eventually overcome that fear and actually achieve what it is they want to achieve. So don't sit down and allow your fear to make you a non-entity when you are supposed to be a celebrity. Don't allow that fear to push you down to a non-entity when you are actually supposed to rise up as a celebrity. So speak to a counselor. Number 7, this part is very important. Embrace God. Embrace God. You know, I keep saying it on this journey of life, and unfortunately for a lot of people, they find out very late. On this journey of life, running away from God does not help you. Run to Him. Don't run away from Him. Most of the people who ran away from God in their youth ran to Him in their old age. But do you know what that has robbed you of? Every benefit that you would have had in your youthful time, you have wasted. So the little benefit, what can you benefit in your old age? Our pastor was telling us the other day that there was a woman 80-something years old who used to be a witch and gave her life to Christ. At 80-something, how much of the nice things of life can you? At that point in time, you don't want to ride a power bike. You don't want a private jet. You don't want chauffeurs carrying around. You don't want to go shopping everywhere. At that point in time, life is almost coming to an end. So embrace God now, because God helps you. Remember that verse I said in the book of 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy 1:7. For God had not given us the spirit of fear, but He has given us the spirit of power, of love, of power, and of a sound mind. So that's what God gives you, but He only gives it to His children. So that your fear you are experiencing, ask yourself, how close are you to God? I don't mean going to church. You know, going to church is just a symptom of being close to God. It doesn't mean that you are close to God. People go. I posted something on my Facebook, Kunle Ologe, on my timeline. I was so distracted. She was sitting beside me in church. She was completely distracted. She distracted me so much that I had to look to see what exactly is this woman doing that is distracting me, because there was even noise coming out from her phone, only for me to see that she was watching reels in church while the preaching was going on. And when it was time to pray, she was shouting, amen, amen. In fact, she almost put her hands inside my eye. had to shift a little for her because her amen was stronger than the pastor's blessing. Yet, when the word was going on, she was watching. So it's not about sitting in church. No, 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 no. Don't deceive yourself. It's about your relationship with God, one-on-one. Do you speak to him and does he speak to you back? If you don't hear God back, and that's another topic, how to hear God. If you don't hear God back, then there is a problem with your relationship. So embrace God. Go close to him. That fear will begin to go because it is the devil that is the chief implanter. There's a word like that of fear. So it's either you have God or you have the devil. There is no middle ground. I'll say it again. It's either you have God or you have the devil. There is no middle ground. So for those of you who, I hear young people now, they say we are Bado. Is it Bado for Christ? There's a way they say it. So they go to church, but they go to club. They go to church, but they do all the other bad things. And I need to tell you the truth. You need to choose. Because what you have chosen is the devil. Forget it. You cannot be in the middle. Once you are not completely with God, you are with the devil. And God is the one who can help you to conquer that spirit of fear. So embrace God. Number 8, remind yourselves of past wins. Remind yourself of past wins. So the things you've been able to achieve in the past, do you have them documented somewhere? Do you have them documented somewhere? Document it. Some years ago, while I was still in the bank, my staff, my marketing staff, were not pulling their best, and I knew they were better than that. So I sat them down for a session, and I told them, I said, each one of you take 5 minutes to think of one great thing that you have ever done. I mean, even if it was banking. Sat down and I waited. And after about 5 minutes, I now started asking them one after the other. I was blown away with the quality of people that were sitting in front of me. The kind of things that they had achieved was not reflecting in what they were doing now. And they themselves, as they were telling the stories of the things that they had achieved, you could see an air of self-esteem, building. You see them rising, even in the way they were saying it. And they suddenly reminded themselves of who they used to be. Immediately after that meeting, I started to see positive changes in their results. Because suddenly they realized that nobody was doing them. In Nigeria, they say, who they do you? We're always looking for somebody that is doing us. Meanwhile, we're the ones doing ourselves. No village person, no person witch hunting you, just you. And that was how they conquered their fear, and they, boom. And before I left the bank, those same people were flying. So ensure that you have a reminder of your past. Document the things you've done. In fact, my wife and I have a book at home. We call it our testimony book. And usually when people come to our home, depressed and everything, we just leave them in the parlor, give them the book. It's a big hardcover book. So we write, the testimonies, things that God has done for us. We write them down. So those people flip through. When they sit down, we just leave them alone in the parlor. So they flip through that book, and suddenly they start realizing that these things are possible. These people went through even worse than what I was going through now, and they came out of it. So I can come out of it. That's what reminding yourself can do. So remind yourself, document things. We don't like documentation in Africa. We don't like it. I've forgotten the person who was saying it. Who was it now? Oh, I'm trying to remember. Somebody said that he went with some African presidents. They went to Morocco. And in Morocco has one of the oldest libraries, in the world. And that they got to the part where it had the history of Africa. And that history, There are people from all over Africa. They got writings from people from all over Africa. I mean, ancient writings. And he said, I think it was a journalist. Yeah, it was a journalist. I'm trying to remember who. He said that he was a cameraman actually at that point in time. So he said that the place was dusty. The books were scattered. There was no arrangement. He said he paused and turned to the president of, I think it was South Africa, and said, "Sir, can we stop this documentary and can we fix this place?" That place has, yeah, thank you. My wife says he was a photojournalist. Yes, that place has the history of Africa written by Africans and non-Africans. We have a place there in Morocco, yet it is scattered. Because in Africa, if you go to the West, they document everything. Every time I travel and we go to museums, I'm shocked. The day I went to Windsor Castle, I was shocked by the distance of history that they had sitting in that castle. 100 years, 1,000 years ago, they were there, relics, still in very good condition. But I went to Jos Museum. That used to be a beautiful place when I was a little child. Took my children there some years ago. Tears started coming out of my eyes. Because even the pots were all broken. There was dust everywhere. The place was unkept. The access fee was ridiculous, 15 naira or something like that. So we don't keep records, and that's a bad thing. It's not a good thing. That's why the Western world will be telling us about our own selves. And of course, since they are the ones telling the story, they can twist it whichever way they want. And you know, that's what the devil does. The devil allows other people to tell you your story. So those people will tell you you cannot, you will fail. They will give you negative diagnosis of whatever it is that you are going through. And you swallow it because you don't have your own. One of the greatest issues in life is identity. When you don't know who you are, people will tell you who you are not. And that's one of the first things, that was one of the strongest things we did for our children when they were going to boarding house some years ago. We helped them to realize who they were. So when they came into boarding house and they met people who were trying to tell them who they were not, they changed. Or they changed them. They changed those people. As they were able to tell them, no, this is who I am. So not knowing who you are is a problem. And that also happens when you don't document what happens in your life. So you don't need to get old before you start doing a biography or an autobiography of yourself. Thank God for technology. On your phone, anything you remember, put it on your note. And before you know what's happening, you would have a compendium of notes to put together and form an autobiography of yourself. And when you are reading it, it will help you. Any fear that is coming at that point in time, you just laugh. Because you just realize you have done so much more. When I was jumping out from banking to counseling fully and business mentorship, a lot of people were trying to sell fear. And they told me, are you sure of this thing? How much can you make? And I was just laughing at them because at that point in time, I had already overcome fear. In fact, I was already making my own salary. I was making it for 1 year. So I had overcome fear. So remind yourself of past wins. Number 9, and this part helps to buttress the point I just made that I had overcome fear. Get knowledge. Number 9, get knowledge. Yes, my wife is saying it. When you don't document, you lose your identity. So get knowledge. That's number 9. Get knowledge. Get knowledge. Get knowledge. In all your gettings, get wisdom. Get understanding. That's what the Bible said. So all these acquisitions you are getting, you are buying this, buying that, buying this, then you will not pay for knowledge. It was Bishop Oyedepo that said that he went on one foreign trip some many years ago. And it was one of the, going for a foreign trip for him will probably be a big thing. But if you know him, you know that things don't move him. So he went for the trip and he said he came back And when he came back, his wife now asked him, so what did you buy? You know, when you go for foreign trips, everybody's expecting you to buy clothes, shoes, nice things and all that. He said he took her to his study and that there were large, I think she said about 3 large cartons there. And he said, this is what I brought back. And they opened the first one, books. They opened the second one, more books. They opened the third one, even more books. And the wife asked, is this all? And he said, yes, this is all. But that the knowledge inside these books will give us every other thing that we will ever need. And his life is an evidence of it. In fact, no matter what you want to say about him, he is an epitome of knowledge and wisdom, and it is reflecting in anything he touches. That's why the Covenant University was opened how many years ago, and it's number 2 in Nigeria and ranking in the world. So knowledge, you see, that money, sometimes people, I cringe when I hear people saying, I can't pay 5,000 for a course, I can't pay 50,000, I can't pay 100,000. But that same person will spend 500,000 on a bag, 2 million on a holiday. And the annoying thing about Nigerians, when we go, Nigerians, please, I'm just trying to say what I have seen. So maybe not everybody. When we go for those summer holidays, we don't learn anything. Your children don't learn anything. When me and my wife and my kids go, when we go on tours, we don't see black people there. In fact, we're usually the 1 or 2 only black families you will see in the tours where you're supposed to go and learn about the place that you have gone to. The only place you will see Nigerians is the big shopping malls, amusement park. Those are the 2 places you will see Nigerians. Big shopping malls, amusement park. What happened to the knowledge? So you spent all that money and you and your children did not gain anything back? No. Knowledge is so important. Some time ago, somebody engaged me to help her draw a curriculum for her staff, for the year. And when I told her how much it would cost, she said, it's too expensive. And I asked her, I said, madam, this bag that you are carrying, how much is it? Immediately I said it, she started to laugh because she realized that the bag she was carrying, just a handbag, was like times 4 of what I was asking her to pay. So why do we run away from knowledge? There are some people listening to me now. Since you dropped that your last pen, in that your last paper in your university, you've not picked up one book. I mean one book. No matter on what, even newspaper, you've not picked it up. If you come to our house, you will see we have library of books in every section of the house. Every section of the house has books, including my bedroom. Our bedroom has 3 places with books. Our children's bedrooms have bookshelves with books. They get knowledge. What does knowledge do for you? It helps you to dispense of all those unnecessary fear. It is because you don't know, that's why you are afraid of it. There's a course that I do, the next one will come in September. It's for eligible singles. It's called Becoming Mr. and Mrs. So there I tell them how to date properly, how to find their spouses and all that. And every time I do that course, we've had one this year. It's normally twice in a year. We've had one this year. The second one will come up in September. So if you are single and you're listening to me, look out for it on our Facebook group, the Marriage Seal Academy. Every time I do that course, you start seeing people saying, I just broke up with my boyfriend. I just broke up with my girlfriend. The problem was that they had no knowledge. So they entered into a wrong relationship. Then when they got knowledge, they now realize, wait, I don't want to waste my life. I'm throwing my life away. So they pull out. And those of them who are in proper relationships being done properly, they now rejig it. And they find out that going for ice cream and cake without discussing your lives or the plan for what you have in the future is useless. You're wasting time. For some people, for some young people, all they plan is the wedding. They don't plan the marriage. So they plan the wedding. In fact, I see some weddings now. I say, wow. By my calculation, I'm a finance person. I would calculate and say, they couldn't have spent anything less than 10 million on this wedding, 5 million on this wedding. But they will not spend 200,000, 100,000 to go for proper premarital counseling. I had a couple once who came to me and they said, not a couple, young people, they came to me and they said, oh, they learned that I do very good premarital counseling. So please, they want to do my premarital counseling with me because somebody who actually did recommended. So I said, okay, fine, that's good. I gave them the bill, 200,000. Do you know what they said? They said, it's too expensive. So I sat them down. I said, are you planning for your wedding now? They said, yes. I said, would you just indulge me? Let's do some calculations of how much you spent. By the time they did the calculation of what they had already put into just the wedding ceremony one day, it was going into millions. So I asked them again, is this expensive? I said, you will not know the benefit on this until you get into marriage, and those fears of marriage now come and overshadow you. And because you don't know what to do, you run. So getting knowledge is so important. The more knowledge you get about a thing, the more your fear disappears. The more knowledge a pilot gets about flying, the more he enters the cockpit and he's just whistling away. But before he got the knowledge, if you put him in a plane and fighter jets and you twist him around, the guy might be shouting because he doesn't even understand what is happening. But when he understands and knows knowledge and knows that this plane cannot do this plane will do this, you find him just comfortable. So do not run away from knowledge, and don't run away from spending money on knowledge. Knowledge is not cheap. It's not cheap. There's this adage, I know some of you would have heard it. They used to say, if you feel education is expensive, try ignorance. If you feel education is expensive, try ignorance. You will realize that it's not expensive after all. Look, there was a day I was in the filling station and my primary schoolmate was filling my car. I had looked at him and, something told me, that's so many years ago. So something told me, this guy looks familiar. He was the one who called my full name. And in school, how they call your full name during register, roster and all of that. So he called my full name. That was when I looked at him and saw him. I said, what are you doing here? It was strange. And I got to know that he didn't really, after primary school, he tried secondary school, he flunked out, and he didn't really seek knowledge. He thought he could just make it, he could hustle. You know that word, hustle. Hustle is supposed to be a positive thing, but the way we use it, you don't hustle. You hustle without thinking of important things. And that hustling eventually landed him in the filling station. I felt so bad for him then because when we were in primary school, he was a smart guy. Knowledge. Number 10 and the final one, celebrate your successes. Celebrate your successes. Whenever you have a success in something, celebrate it. Go for Thanksgiving. Go and thank God. That's the first celebration. For me, that's the first celebration, thanking God. Because for me, God is everything. And he's the one who has brought me to where I am today. And where I am is very, very good. But he's even still taking me to somewhere greater. So I celebrate him for the small wins. You need to see my family thanking God for that we were just able to buy a small electronic or something. You celebrate. Celebrate. If you want to do a party, do a party. Every time you celebrate your wins, you will find out it will give you, your self-esteem will be raised again. So these are the 10 ways that you can overcome fear, and I'm sure somebody out there has picked something from it. And remember that 9th point, knowledge. That 9th point, knowledge, especially when it comes to marriage, is very important. And so I want to use this time to introduce you to something, a program that will really help you, especially when it comes to marriage. I want to introduce you to what we call the Couples Conclave. The Couples Conclave of the Marriage Seal Academy is an 11-month course where we take, in fact, it's not a course, it's a program. It's a continuous program because every year you just come in. We call it a rejuvenation program. So every year you come in to the couples conclave, and for 11 months we're just talking about marriage. Not stressful, not hard to follow, just simple. Each month we have one topic that we just keep discussing that month in the group. People ask questions, we direct people. We have one master class on that topic every month, and then we'll move to the next month. We have beautiful activities we do. For this year's zone 2023, we're going for our couples retreat. We're going for our couples retreat in a beautiful resort in Abuja. And we're already gearing up for that. That's going to come up in September. So we have a couples retreat. So it's a beautiful way to rejuvenate your marriage. The couples conclave is a beautiful way to rejuvenate your marriage. So we've opened registration for the 2024 edition already, because people are already agitating, and of course everybody who does returns, and then more new people join us. This year we had 146 couples. Imagine if all of us go for that retreat. We will shut down that resort. They won't even have enough space for us, and everybody is agitating to go. So we're having to give the slots to the first come first serve. So we have 46 couples who are coming, who are in this year's old, and they are registering for next year. You can join them by sending a chat to the WhatsApp number of the Marriage Seal Academy. It's right down there, 081-755-73025. It's scrolling right at the bottom of your screen. Send a WhatsApp message. Just put couples conclave. When you put couples conclave, we will reply you and give you all the details. It's a 1-year program. It's just for 100,000 for the couple. So for that whole 1 year, just 100,000. 11 months, just 100,000. That is underpayment. But we do it for you. We want couples, and we've gotten so many testimonials. If you are in our Facebook group, we share testimonials there. It's a beautiful place to be. If your marriage is going through something, or even if it's not going through something, join the couples conclave so that it can be rejuvenated and the fire can be kept burning throughout. Also, in 2021, I wrote the book Husband Manual. I started writing the book. The Husband Manual is for wives. So I wrote the book Husband Manual. I was able to finish in 2021. I was also writing the book Wife Manual. But because women are very interesting, their package is so much. Wife Manual for husbands could not come out in 2021. It is just coming out now in 2023. Can you beat that? So Wife Manual is coming out, and it is coming out at pre-order. You can pre-order now. You can pre-order now for just 3,000 naira. The original price is 4,000 naira. But if you pre-order now before the launch date, which is in August, if you pre-order now, you get to pay just 3,000 naira, and then you get to get your copy. You pick it up from our pickup points all around the country when the launch happens. Immediately the launch day happens, the price goes to 4,000. So save 1,000 naira and pre-order that book, Wife Manual for husbands. So all men that are listening to me, you don't understand your wife, right? She does things that makes you go crazy. You want to climb up the wall. You're wondering, why is this woman behaving like this? Buy the book. It will teach you why she's behaving like that and what you can do to help to manage your marriage and make it beautiful and blissful. Wives, if you are here listening to me, pre-order a copy for your husband. Give it to your husband so that your husband can understand you. It is very husband and wife understand each other all the time. I see Omolola. Omolola is one of our great conclavites. We call ourselves conclavites, those of us in the couples conclave. And Omolola has, done several conclaves. She's still the doctor in Australia, and she has an outfit for autism. Helping parents who have children who are autistic to navigate. It is very, very possible. So you can reach out to her for that. All right, Emily, I see you. Thank you very much, everybody. So get your copy, pre-order your copy of the Wife Manual so that you can get on the wait group. And then also, you should think of registering for the couples conclave. And we'll give you details of everything, both the pre-order and the couples conclave. If you just send a WhatsApp chat to 081-755-73025. So we have come to the end of today's live webinar on overcoming fear. And I am sure somebody took something away from it. And I'm glad that I was here to be the one to help you navigate through. So my name is Kunle Ologe, marriage counselor, founder of the Marriage Seal Academy and the Kunle Ologe Business Mentorship. And join me again next week, Friday, 11 o'clock. We will be giving you another dose of something very important that you can learn for. Thank you very much, everybody. Bliss and joy.